Hello everyone. Good evening. This is Nazmul here again back from the 24asia. So দর্শক যে যেখানে বসে আমাদের আজকে এই লাইভ দেখছেন সবাইকে আমি স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি। সবাইকে আমি স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি এবং ঈদ মোবারক যাদের সাথে আমার আজকেই প্রথম দেখা কিংবা কথা হচ্ছে আজকের লাইভে। সো আজকে আমাদের অনুষ্ঠানটা খুবই স্পেশাল একটা অনুষ্ঠান আজকে আমরা অর্গানাইজ করেছি এবং আজকে আমাদের সাথে তিনজন খুবই স্পেশাল গেস্ট আছে। তাদের সাথে আমি খুব শীঘ্রই পরিচয় করে দেবো। দর্শক আপনারা যদি হচ্ছে আমাদের ব্যানার থেকে দেখে থাকেন আমাদের গেস্ট সম্বন্ধে বাই নাও আপনারা জানেন এবং ওনারা তিনজনই হচ্ছে সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে আমাদের সাথে যুক্ত হচ্ছেন এবং ওনারা তিনজনই আমাদের সাথে ওনাদের এক্সপিরিয়েন্স গুলো শেয়ার করবেন ইন টার্মস অফ দ্য মাইগ্রেন্ট community collaboration, in terms of the migrant the integration with the local society. তারা আরো তাদের হচ্ছে কি বলবো পাস্ট এক্সপিরিয়েন্স শেয়ার করবেন যে যেখান থেকে কি বলবো যে আমরা কিভাবে আমাদের মাইগ্রেন্ট ভাইদের সাথে কোলাবরেট করে আমরা এই পর্যন্ত আসি এবং ইনফ্যাক্ট এই ক্রাইসিসে কোভিড-19 যে ক্রাইসিসটা আমরা ফেস করলাম বা করছি এখনো, ইনফ্যাক্ট এই ক্রাইসিসের জন্য আমরা কেউ প্রিপেয়ার ছিলাম না। তারপরও আমরা যে যার জায়গা থেকে আমরা we try to deal with this crisis, we collaborate each other, we collaborate with the agency, NGO and government organization, and I think in Singapore we really did pretty well. So I think we'll hear from them, and without further delay, let me actually bring to our panelists and to have a quick introduction. So for this audience, আপনারা যারা এই মুহূর্তে যে লাইভে জয়েন করছেন আশা করব আপনারা আমাদের এই লাইভ লিংকটি শেয়ার করে দেবেন যেন আপনাদের ফ্রেন্ডরা আমাদের সাথে যুক্ত হতে পারেন। So let's have a quick chat with our panelists today. So audience, as I said, that today is a very special day for us, and we have very special guest. And without further delay, let's have a quick introduction from each one of them. So I'll go first with Dr. Goh. Dr. Goh, would you please share a quick introduction about yourself? Dr. Goh.
Oh, thanks, Nas. Hi, my name is Wei-Leong, and I'm a general practitioner, a family physician. I've been practicing as a doctor for the past 30-something years, and about 14 years ago, I started Healthserve, which is an NGO. We run 3 clinics in Singapore. We also run clinics with specialist clinics for skin, for orthopedic, and we also run social services to help migrant workers who need help. We have got a research where we also do some legal advisory. And we are run by volunteers. I've got a team, a staff of about 16 people, and the rest are volunteers, about some 500 volunteers, and quite a few Bangladeshi volunteers who are migrant workers, and they are great friends, our brothers who come and help us run our clinics as assistants in the clinic.
Thank you, Dr. Goh. So I'll go to the next, Luis. Luis, will you, please share a quick introduction to our audience? Sorry, Luis.
Thanks, Nas. Very good evening, everyone. My name is Luis. I'm the Member of Parliament for Nee Soon GRC here in Singapore. I've been an MP for 5 years, and I've been speaking up quite a fair bit on migrant workers issue in Parliament, urging for electronic payment of salaries, better living conditions in the dorms. And I've been looking forward to this talk, not just sharing my views, but hopefully listening as well to what Kari, Dr. Goh has to say.
Thank you, Luis. Audience, just wanted to quick, comments from my side. Actually, that Luis, usually known in a migrant community, we call the migrant voice. Okay, and he has been speaking actually to the parliament at lots of topic, from our dorm facility to the different thing. Definitely, we'll learn more from him, and I'll also share some of my experience that I have seen from him as well. Thank you so much, actually, Luis, for joining us. So I'll go to the Kari. So Kari, could you please give a short introduction about yourself, Kari?
Hi everyone. Thanks, Naz. My name is Kari. I'm the co-founder of SamaSama, a ground-up movement which redefines the narrative of our migrant workers to inspiring role models that we can admire as creative, innovative, and inspiring. So not victims, but agents of change. So we help support and build capacities of migrant community leaders to stand up for what they believe in, right? To lend voice to the voiceless, to celebrate diversity through talent shows, and create sustainable support systems that protect the well-being of our migrant brothers and sisters. So in my previous role, I was an HR consultant. I worked on a number of projects involving migrant worker schemes, and learning about their conditions had saddened me. So, I mean, inequality was one of the first social issues that I was personally invested in. So regardless of gender, race, sexual preference, or pay, it's all the same to me. I believe that every human has the right to live to their full potential, because it is the potential that creates change. So as our campaign evolved, we have experienced so many amazing, talented individuals contributing largely to the migrant community. So as SamaSama, we will continue to help our migrant communities have better representations of their own voice and be part of shaping a society that we like to live in. So I'm looking forward to sharing more about what we have done in terms of partnerships with migrant communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Kari. From the audience side, we'll just pick some of this audience. Thank you, Rashid, Tashrif, Cynthia, Khaleda from Bangladesh also actually joined from Bangladesh. Sharif Kapoor also joined. For all those audience who actually are joining here, it would be great actually if you can share which country, city that you joined, and if you have any question you wanted to share or your experience, feel free to raise it here, and we'll raise to specific panelists that you wanted to raise to on behalf of you. So and also if you have any of the comments, feedback, suggestion to us, please drop a notes here so that we'll actually improve from there, and definitely we'd love to hear from you. So first of all, I will actually thank you to all those panelists today for joining us for a very special day, and really appreciate your time. And definitely today we will more discuss about our migrant brothers, our experience, what did we learn, and especially in this COVID-19 crisis. Okay, so I'll go to the first to Dr. Goh. Dr. Goh, would you please share your experience from this pandemic? What did we learn?
Wow, this pandemic has been very different. It's changed the way I interact with our migrant brothers. One of the things I used to enjoy is to visit the dorms. The migrant brothers sometimes invite me to their rooms where I share a meal with them. Sometimes I share a meal, have food and dinner with them outside with my volunteers. We all eat together. And the pandemic has changed all this, and I think losing that human touch has been very difficult. And one of the new things I've learned in this pandemic is the stress level that our migrant brothers go through. Anxiety, many of them are anxious. They also feel helpless. Sometimes, especially, have I got COVID or have I not? And they feel guilty sometimes, thinking of their family back home. But what I've learned is that many of the migrant brothers I speak to, the biggest thing I learned is that you guys are really resilient, very strong. You're able to look after yourselves and tide through this very difficult time. I see many of you are very creative. With the time during lockdown, in Singapore, we call it circuit breaker. You're stuck in a room and you cannot go out, and yet you're able to find time to take up causes. And I think that's fantastic, And another thing I realized is also that the migrant brothers are sharing news with each other. Like they share good news, they share food, they share gifts, they share news of where to get phone cards, or they share maybe a new link, to get help and all. So I think this is something that I think I'm learning, that migrant brothers are so resourceful and very resilient, and something I really enjoy. And the connect, and when I talk to them on Zoom, or I talk usually on WhatsApp, it's it's very nice. I think we can still connect even with WhatsApp. So I learned lots of stuff during this time in the pandemic.
Thank you, Dr. Goh. So maybe I'll go actually, Kari, because Kari, I've been watching you actually for the last couple of the weeks or even month. Actually, you have been very active in doing the collaboration with the agency, and the NGO and so on. If you can actually share your quick experience on last, few months, Kari.
So, wow, the last few months has been quite a journey. I mean, this whole thing before it started, we saw that the wave is coming, and we were all helping individually, trying to perhaps distribute a little, some food there, distribute some masks there, and we realized that what was coming was going to be a much larger scale. So I think together with the NGO and communities, we really came to try to find out how we could work together in a more collaborative, coordinated way. And I believe from there, we've learned so many things from, seeing the priorities and needs on ground of, basic needs such as masks, and then that became food, but then that became meals, and then it became, during the Hari Raya period where, that really became quite a strain and started to become a strain on our resources. And there were so many different adaptations, and the NGOs really, they were incredibly, I guess, resilient through it all. And I think now, as we go into, the second phases and also the reopening, as we know, mental health mental health and anxiety is a concern of our migrant workers as well. So I believe that, all of us have been switching our hats every single time. Every time there's an issue, we prioritize it and we try to figure out, what we can do to help. Because we can say that, yes, anxiety is there, but what causes anxiety? A lot more things underneath that, right? So, I mean, it's been a wonderful experience through the bad and good. And actually we do see opportunity in what is to come in post-COVID.
Thank you, Kari. I'll come back to you. There is an interesting topic that I have, mental health, because I know you have been working in mental health recently, and I was part of the team as well. So I'll go to the Luis. Luis, if you can actually share your experience on last few months. I know that it was very exciting and very busy, and if you can share some of your experience to our audience, Luis.
It has been an exciting and busy few months, both in Parliament and outside of Parliament. In Parliament, obviously, we will be debating a lot of the budgets, but I think the last few months really shined the spotlight on our migrant friends, both about the plight and the difficulties they were facing during this pandemic, but also very importantly, about how essential migrant workers are here in Singapore and how much we need to come together to help. And I think that's the beautiful part of how the community came together, the NGOs came together, the government agencies came together to provide that much needed help to our migrant friends. And that really made the difference today. And of course, we have committed to better conditions for our migrant friends, better living conditions in the new dorms that we'll be building. So overall, while it's obviously a very negative experience, this pandemic, but there was still brief moments of positivity. And I hope with phase 2 now, we'll see more positiveness in our community.
Thank you, Luis. I'll just actually pick up one interesting question. One of the audience actually did it just now. It's a Nazmul Khan. I know that actually Sir Luis actually have been working with for migrant worker actually quite actively, especially speaking to Parliament. If you can actually share actually what has motivated you actually to raise the voice.
Actually, and I can't really remember how many years ago, but when I first became an MP, I decided that I would spend a day being a cleaner. So I worked with I'm still the chairman of the town council as well, but I worked with one of my cleaners called Hanif. And I spent a day with him in the clearing up the rubbish, going into the rubbish dump area. But I realized again how difficult his work is, but at the same time, how amazing it was that he's just smiling the whole day. And residents were stopping, saying hi to him, waving at him. He was just someone that had such a difficult life, but yet was so happy. And as I looked into it more, I realized that there were many issues and many gaps that we need to fill, both at the policy, legislative, as well as at the local level. And then I started a bit more. Every quarter, we brought all our cleaners out. And I think the first trip we brought them was on a duck tour. And it was sort of new to this, but a lot of them was the first time sort of stepping outside Yishun, where they worked here for so long, but they were so busy working and so hard working every day that they never got a chance to explore Singapore. And that really opened my eyes, being on the ground, listening directly from the cleaners, understanding their plight, and then speaking up in Parliament. In fact, I've shared Hanif's story in Parliament about how, again, we not just need to improve the living conditions, but look into wages as well.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you so much. Actually, we have a couple of the audience actually from the Europe. We have Shamin Khandokar joined from Italy. We have Arman joined from Portugal. We have Anis Bhai joined from the Dubai, and a few more from the Middle East. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Actually, today we have a very special guest and lots of things that actually we are going to learn from them. So especially their experience, as Louis was sharing it, to have that mentality, to spend a day and act just like cleaner. You can imagine actually, the mindset that actually they have. This is how we call it actually true leader. Thank you so much, actually, Luis, for
I should add one more thing, Nas. I mean, and last year I did I went to Bangladesh to meet all my cleaners' families, and that was one of the most beautiful things I've done, but also one of the most heartbreaking, because we set up like a Skype call. It wasn't Zoom at that time, it was Skype at that time. But you watch the mothers crying as they spoke to their sons. I remember meeting some of my cleaners' children. In fact, I met their child before they even met their child. And again, going through that experience really made me realize how we need to do more for our migrant friends, and how really they're so far from their homes, so far from their loved ones. We really need to help speak up for them.
Thank you always. Sorry I wasn't there during the time, but next trip definitely I will follow you. And I'll be there, to escort you and host you to, giving the experience and support you as well.
It really was a beautiful trip.
Yeah, I'm sure the next trip will be definitely, it would be, and I'll be happy to, even if Kari, Dr. Goh wanted to visit Bangladesh, I'll be happy to join with them as well. And I'm sure maybe after the lockdown period, once everything back to the normal, we'll definitely have another trip. Yeah, I'll be going back to Dr. Goh. Actually, Dr. Goh, if you can actually share, some of your experience, and how do you actually collaborate, our migrant brother. Especially, I wanted to more hear in the same question that just now I asked Luis. What was the motivation factor, or what was the triggering point that you decided to help our migrant brother?
Yeah, well, about 14 years ago, I was just talking with a good friend of mine, the co-founder, and we realized that there were many migrant workers, many from South Asia. And I said, because I'm a doctor, I say, why don't we start a clinic? Because I realized that medical is one of the biggest problems that a migrant worker will face, because many of them will not have enough money to see a doctor, because sometimes, although the employer is supposed to look after the medical needs, but sometimes this is missing, right? So we decided that we'll start a clinic. And when we started a clinic, we realized that it's more than medicine that the migrant worker needs. He actually needs a very holistic care. He needs social assistance, sometimes problems with the employer, disputes. Sometimes he needs a place even to stay. Sometimes he needs phone cards. He misses his family, some Wi-Fi he needs. So not just medicine. And so I learned how to look at someone very holistic, the whole person. And that has been something special for me in terms of learning about migrant workers, or how to meet their needs. Yeah.
Thank you.
We started the clinic and all the other services, not just clinic. Yeah. So it motivated us, because they were real friends, we became good friends over many, many meals. Yeah.
Okay, that's very glad to hear that. দর্শকদের জন্য বলবো, দর্শক আমাদের সাথে আছেন তিনজন খুবই ভিআইপি গেস্ট আমাদের কাছে, আমাদের কি বলবে মেম্বার অফ দ্য পার্লামেন্ট থেকে আসছেন লুইস এনজি, আমাদের সাথে আছেন ডক্টর গো, উনি হচ্ছে ফাউন্ডার হালসাব, এবং আমাদের সাথে আছেন কারি তামোরা, কো ফাউন্ডার অফ সামাসামা। দর্শক যেমনটা বলছিলেন যে আমাদের প্যানেলিস্ট, স্পেশালি লুইস যেটা শেয়ার করেছেন, যে উনি নিজেই একদিন আমাদের ক্লিনার ভাইদের সাথে যেভাবে ক্লিনারের কাজ করে সেইভাবে উনি কাজ করেছেন। উনি তাদের এক্সপিরিয়েন্সটা গেইন করতে যাচ্ছেন, যে হাউ দে অ্যাক্ট, হাউ দে ওয়ার্ক এন্ড হাউ দে ফিল। সো এই এক্সপিরিয়েন্সটা গেইন করার জন্য উনি একদিন সারাদিন আমাদের ক্লিনার ভাইদের সাথে কাজ করেন, এবং তারপরে উনি বুঝতে পারছেন যে না, দ্যাটস পুট লটস অফ হার্ড ওয়ার্ক, বাট স্টিল অ্যাকচুয়ালি দে আর স্মাইলিং, so that's actually motivate him, in fact. And since then actually উনি অনেকবার আমাদের হচ্ছে মাইগ্রেন্ট ভাইদের নিয়ে উনি পার্লামেন্টে কথা বলেছেন, উনি অনেকগুলো ফ্যাক্টর নিয়ে কথা বলেছেন, উনি ইন টার্মস অফ দ্য ফ্যাসিলিটি, ইন টার্মস অফ দ্য লিগাল, ইন টার্মস অফ দ্য পে, সেই ব্যাপারগুলো নিয়ে রেজ করেছেন। এবং এই জন্য আমাদের মাইগ্রেন্ট কমিউনিটিতে এটা খুবই এক নামে পপুলার, এবং এক নামে সবাই চিনে যে এমপি লুইস মিনস মাইগ্রেন্ট ভয়েস। সো যেমনটা বলছিলেন ডক্টর গো অ্যাকচুয়ালি উনি খুবই ফ্রেন্ডলি, এবং আমি অনেকে ইভেন্টে ওনাকে দেখছি যে আমাদের মাইগ্রেন্ট ভাইদের সাথে পাশে বসে চা খাচ্ছেন এবং গল্প করছেন। তো এই ব্যাপারগুলো ওনারা খুব মানে ফ্রেন্ডলি হিসেবেই করেন, এবং তাদের কাছ থেকে বিভিন্ন ধরনের এক্সপিরিয়েন্স শেয়ার করেন, গেইন করেন, এবং ওনাদের এক্সপিরিয়েন্স গুলো শেয়ার করেন। সেখান থেকে ওনাকে মোটিভেট করেছে যে কি বলবো, যে নতুন একটা ক্লিনিক খুলতে, এবং সেই ক্লিনিক গুলো হেলথ হাব যে ক্লিনিকটা করে অলমোস্ট বলতে গেলে যে বিনামূল্যে একটা ন্যূনতম ফি দিয়ে জাস্ট একটা রেজিস্ট্রেশন দিয়ে ওনারা মেডিকেল সিস্টেম মেডিকেল সাপোর্ট কি বলে প্রোভাইড করে থাকেন। তার মেজরিটি আমাদের বাংলাদেশি প্লাস আদার ন্যাশনালিটি গুলো খুব কি বলবো অল্প পয়সায়, অল্প টাকায় তারা এই বেনিফিট গুলো পেয়ে থাকেন, যেটা হয়তো অন্য কোনো ক্লিনিকে হয়তো অ্যাফোর্ডেবল না, কিংবা অন্য কোনো ক্লিনিকে এরকম ফ্রি সার্ভিস দেওয়া হয় না। So definitely এটা মাইলফলক একটা কাজ, এবং আমি I really wanted to thanks to them as well. So I'll be going to Kari actually. Dorshak, I can see there's lots of comments actually keep popping up. I can't really flash every single comments, but definitely I'll pick some of the question from there, and definitely all those love an audience that you have, and I'm sure that you are exciting to hear from them as well. So I'll be going to Kari. Kari, if you can actually share some of the projects that recently you have done, especially for mental health for our migrant brother. Kari.
Sure. I mean, there are quite a number of ways that we're currently partnering with the migrant community, and incredibly, like we said before, filled with talented individuals from so many different cultures. But I think one of the things, what typically SamaSama does is that we do, partnerships on events, and that is really to create more opportunities for dialogue between migrant workers and locals, right? I mean, you've been part of it, where we had the 6 months roaming show. We traveled to 9 locations and so on. But I think what kind of evolved in this pandemic itself is really that that partnership was shifted to actually starting to tackling issues that was happening, that was caused or being exacerbated by the pandemic, right? So as we mentioned, mental health was one aspect of that, right? So as part of that, we have the 5L program we call it, together with our migrant community leaders and responders, and 5L meaning look, listen, and learn. Look, listen, link, liaise, and love. And really, the first 3 is essentially to equip a migrant brother or sister in BPFA, which is basic psychological first aid. Because they, day in, day out, they get so many different questions. And these questions are complex. Sometimes even when they get escalated to us, even we don't have clarity on that. So we wanted to come up with a customized program for them to be able to respond in that sense. So that's the first 3 L's. And then we have liaise. And liaise is really about, building relationships together with the community partners and NGOs and organizations. And I think the beauty of that is really the co-creation of solutions between the migrant community and the locals. And I guess the idea is that, personally, I've learned the most, from the migrant community themselves. They are the most brilliant people that I'm friends with, and are more qualified than in many areas when tackling the issues on ground. And it's really because, very simply, they know the issues better than us. So the idea of the LIAS program is to be able for us to sit down, as partners, to be able, we all have a common purpose, and to see how we can create communities that provide capabilities and resources in order to, tackle some of these urgent issues that are on ground, or longer term, mid to longer term. So that's really the bulk of what we're doing, right? I mean, it's called liaise, but there are many other workshops around that. And then finally, the 5L, which is love. And, how do we ensure that among all of this, chaos, or, all of the events that we're doing day in, day out, or how do we ensure that we also build a loving environment for ourselves, and, take some time to take care of our own mental well-being. So, I mean, that's one of the few things that we are doing recently during this pandemic. But we're also looking at different areas because, some of the pillars of what causes mental health is really, the lack of access to, it was basic needs. It is basic needs and information, lack of access to information, lack of access to services, and access to even themselves, right? Being able to take care of themselves. So we try to work with different partners where we see how we can, for example, organize, and crowdsource legitimate information in native languages, or if one area of capacity building for our community leaders to plan these programs either online or through the post-COVID. So those are some of the things. And these partnership programs also create a safe environment for migrant workers to express their needs and to have productive discussions about them. I'm very happy to have had that privilege to work with, our friends, essentially. They are our friends and now they're our partners. So, yeah.
Thank you, Kari. Actually, I'll also like to share, to the audience that recently Kari has actually organized a training for us for mental health. So we become, around 20 volunteer become, mental health ambassador, and it was helped, run by the Red Cross, the specialist as well as from the PPS. Thank you, Kari, for doing that. And we are here actually to help our migrant brother, when they have a different kind of mental stress. How do we deal with such cases? And how do we actually help our friends, our roommates, itself, and when they have actually different kind of stress, and how do we deal with? So definitely, I will be coming to Kari later. I will be going to Louis again. Louis, I know that actually you have been very busy recently and speaking, for migrant brothers, lots of things in the parliament. I've actually watched some of the video. I will pick actually one of the question, but before that, I think I would like to take one of the appreciation note. This is Mustafizur Rahman. He is actually from the Bangladeshi Society. Working here, so I'll read for the comments. A big seller to Mr. Luis, working very hard personally for the migrant worker, doing the best in the parliament actually to pursue the highest level of the maximum possible for the migrant worker. No country in the world has shown such a the effort. Very inspiration and remarkable. Simply the milestone. Glad to see you, Mr. Luis. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today, and definitely there are lots of others actually putting such lovely messages and comments. I'll try to actually pick those as well. For audience, আপনারা যারা join করেছেন বিভিন্ন দেশ থেকে, if you can actually share the country and the city name, so definitely আপনাদের নামগুলো আমরা পড়ার চেষ্টা করব। আমাদের এখানে আছেন পাবেল from ইতালি থেকে, শারমিন খন্দকার from ইতালি থেকে, আমাদের এখানে আছেন রাশিদ পর্তুগাল থেকে, মুমিন বাংলাদেশ থেকে। In fact, my mom just joined. I just noticed. Thank you, Mom, for joining this.
That's quite scary, is it?
No.
I hope my mom is not on.
Thank you, everyone. I can see lots of messages here. So I'll be going back to Louis again. Louis, if you can actually share some of the your experience recently that you have been speaking to the parliament. And I will actually pick one of this question that one of our audience has raised. Let me try to find it. Okay, so his name is Sabir Ahmed. A country like Singapore can offer the better living places for work since we left everything behind, to live for better life here. So definitely, what Louis is going to share, one of the points that he will actually touch on that. Louis.
Yeah, so that's what we are planning to do already, and the thanks really shouldn't just go out to me. In Parliament, there's Minister Josephine as well, our Minister for Manpower, Minister of State Zaki, Minister of State for Manpower as well. They really have been working very hard, a lot of times behind the scenes as well, to come up with these new regulations, new standards as well, that will really improve the lives of migrant workers here in Singapore. And one of the things that I've been fighting hard for is really that minimum gross floor area that we provide to each worker by regulation, which in the past was 4.5 square meters. And that included the dining, the kitchen, the toilet area as well. And I'm glad in the new standards that we'll be piloting in the quick-built dormitories that will be ready by the end of this year, we've managed to increase that now to 6 square meters, excluding all the other areas. So that's quite a significant increase in the living area. There's also a decrease in the number of foreign workers in each room. There's also an increase in the number of toilets available, increase in the sick base. So it's quite a very big and massive improvements now to the living conditions of our migrant workers. And I'm very hopeful the pilot will be successful. That will be for, I believe, 60,000 workers by the end of this year. And hopefully we can scale up to make sure that the lives of our migrant friends here in Singapore improve as well. But I think you not just have my word that I will continue to speak up about this, but the ministers have also given their word that this is something that we will definitely look into because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Louis. There is lots of new audience just joined. We'll just pick up, pick some of them. Tonima Haidar joined from Australia. Sanjid Islam joined from Italy. We have from Malaysia, Dr. Masuma Jahan. Thank you, everyone, actually, for joining this. As you are actually hearing from the Louis itself, some of the initiative that government has already taken, and there is, there's lots of other parliament member as well. They're actually speaking on behalf of our migrant brothers. So but one of the things that I would like to also share that recently we have been actually doing lots of exchange and the sharing the experience, with other region and other country as well. We have to speak to some of our brothers in Middle East, like Lebanon, Dubai, Saudi. We have spoken, some of our colleagues from Malaysia and even Europe, like Portugal, Germany, as well as from Switzerland, and even from the UK and US. So the feedback that we have collected, all those, how the local government actually acting on this pandemic, as you know that this pandemic that we are not really prepared, and this was totally unexpected. So, but everybody deal from their own ability as best that they can do. And we have seen when we see this, all those and analyze it, so far Singapore is still the best. And this is why the Oxford has actually given the gold standard. They didn't just give you gold standard, they have done so many analytics in the behind, and that's why they have actually given. Thank you so much, Louis, and all the parliament members. So I'll be going to Dr. Goh also. Dr. Goh, there are recently lots of activities we have seen. It's not just from our agencies. We have seen lots of initiative taken from the NGO, like even Healthserve. There is lots of even Singapore residents and Singaporean step up to help for our migrant brother. And I have seen lots of messages. There is one called Love, translated. We have seen so many messages, from the Singaporean actually have shared the messages that, you are part of our community and so on. If you can actually share some of your experience from there, Dr. Goh.
Wow. Yeah, I think some of the migrant workers who have come to know us, they share their lives with us. One of the things we found out is that there are many migrant workers with chronic illness that surface. When we see the migrant workers during COVID, because we get to know them better, they are willing to tell us some of their fears and some of the things that they have not told us, or we found out also recently, is that many migrant workers or migrant brothers have got chronic illness like diabetes, for example. And people with diabetes are more prone to complications from COVID if they do get COVID. So with that, we discussed with them, and with our volunteers, we're now looking at ramping up or increasing capacity for helping our migrant brothers with diabetes, for example. That's one. Others, where we had a solidarity wall, we write messages. That was early on in COVID. We found that really the relationships built over the years, where Healthserve has been here for 14 years. It's not just during COVID everything came. It was all these years of relationship building that happened both sides, giving and taking. That was very important for us. So I think the friendship, I really appreciate the friendship that the migrant workers, migrant brothers give us. I think the trust, the generosity from both sides is very special. And I think I'm privileged at Healthserve that we are the point where at the clinic, at our casework center, local Singaporeans come together with migrant brothers in a community, over the clinic, and they're sharing lives. So that's very special for us, and we are thankful for that.
Thank you, Dr. Goh. I'll just pick one of the question that actually audience raised, Nazmul Khan. What can we do to make migrant brother actually feel that they are actually not alone? So I think there are many things as done. If you can actually suggest a few others, Dr. Goh.
Sure. I think, I think one of the things the migrant brothers can do is that, be honest, be open with us. I think, for many Singaporeans, I realize that, for example, at Healthserve, our volunteers, those who are open, then they find that conversations can be very real. Very often at Healthserve, migrant brothers, first time is where they speak to a Singaporean, and for the Singaporean, it's the first time they speak to a migrant brother. And I think so we encourage you to, all the migrant brothers, to be open. I think many of you may feel maybe anxious at this time, but I think we're in this together. You just have to realize that we're in it together. And like Louis said, even Kari, right, that we're in this together. We're sharing, walking with each other. And I think we need to know that we learn from each other during this COVID season.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Goh. I'll be going to actually Kari. Kari, if you can, share some of the idea that actually how can we help our, migrant brother in terms of the mental health, Kari.
Well, I guess, there's so many, as I said before, there's so many factors that contribute to our migrant brothers and sisters, or rather human, mental state and well-being. And it can range from, like we said earlier, needing that clarity in what's happening right now in their lives, the security that their rights are being protected, having a comfortable home and a place to live in, and what you brought up earlier, right? Having that social interaction, the community that they're part of, that they can feel like that they're part of. And when something goes south, then, do they have access to then services, right, that can help save them? Not save them, well, rather help them or guide them. So I guess, some of the ways that we could help. I mean, there are many. I think all of us, in our, respective capacities that we're working on can contribute based on the agency that we have, right? But in terms of, a community, in terms of, social interactions, really we can ask ourselves the question of, how might we enhance the acceptance of migrant workers? How do we reshape the narrative and perception of migrant workers in Singapore, right? The second is, maybe perhaps because there's lack of interaction, as Dr. Goh said, right? How can we then create these opportunities for these interactions to happen? Maybe it's removing barriers of communication, right? That could go into, something back to basics, like English classes, tech savviness, communication and writing. Have more platforms for mutual exchange. I mean, this pandemic has shown us that, everything can be done remotely. There's so many online, there's so many Zoom calls, so many now SDI has launched, something that is completely online in terms of learning English and other things, right? So this is now possible. And I think moving forward, the question is also when we can start interacting in real life, when it is safe to, then what can we further do in terms of creating that space to host more and more of these programs? And really, it's back to what was shared earlier as well. It's really about the relationships as part of that, right? Because relationships is a big part of how we, how healthy we are in terms of our well-beings. So being able to create safe spaces, to be able to express yourself, to be able to share issues. I mean, that's something that has been coming up a lot, right? Regardless of whether it's even among their friends or how do I share issues, what's happening at work, personal life, my worries? Do I have someone to speak to in terms of maybe counselors or something, right? Well, how do we encourage these things to happen? And one thing that we are looking at as well is that we are directly partnering with the migrant community support groups because it's essentially peer-to-peer outreach, right? It's encouragement. They are migrant-led ground-ups, right? And we wish to see more of that happen in the future. But there are many ways. There's only a part of it.
Thank you, Kari. I'll be coming back again. Actually, there are some user comments, that did actually that SamaSama was doing lots of engagement. Actually, when is going to start back again that collaboration and engagement? Yes, Sir Louis.
But Nes, maybe I should add to that we should read and we can start this at the local level. As I mentioned, I worked with Hanif, our cleaner, and this is really one amazing guy. And I believe he's probably the only cleaner in Singapore that threw a barbecue for residents. And that was when his first child was born. And I remember that it was in a CNA video as well, where he threw a party, invited the residents to come down. So the residents don't just view him as a cleaner, but he really is part of the Yishun family. They view him as family rather than a cleaner. And that's what we try to do now in Yishun also. Under each block, with a little poster there to share, this is the person cleaning a block. But again, he's much more than a cleaner. He has a wife back home. He has 4 kids that he's raising the money for. This is his ambition, his dreams. And then it changes that perception that migrant friends are just here to clean or to build our country. But they're here like any one of us. They're someone's father, someone's son, someone's husband as well. And if we can change that narrative, then I think we will get somewhere in terms of a better relationship between migrants and locals.
Thank you always, Adion. There are lots of audience actually here, and sending lots of comments and wishes. I wish every single message I can read for you and actually share that. Especially most of them was writing to Louis and giving the appreciation and note.
Don't read the one from my mother, okay?
So they're actually giving lots, and there are lots of messages also coming to Dr. Goh for all the Healthserve activities and the experience session and appreciation as well. I saw Mustafizur Rahman, he's also actually shared some comments. Dr. Goh, you are really simply great. You have been own heart for our migrant brothers. You are now simply angel, and big salute to you as well. So thank you, Mustafizur Rahman. Yes. Again, our audience, I have seen some of the from the audience side. Dr. Muntasir Manan Chaudhary actually joined as well. He's one of the doctor, from Bangladesh, and is working actually one of the hospital here, covering actually COVID-19 crisis as well. And in fact, he went one of the actually dorm on a very early time actually, and he was speaking actually with a speaker or mic, that we are all here, to make sure that you are safe. And that's actually went to the viral. I saw that actually closer to 1 million people actually was, sending the love messages to the video and sharing spread. Thank you, Dr. Muntasir Bhai, for joining us here as well. There is many others audience actually join as well. I'll be going back again to Kari. Kari, if you can actually share one of the questions that I wanted to pick up again. When the SamaSama, going to start the activity or roll out the activities again? Before I forget, Kari.
When is SamaSama going to roll out physical activities?
That's a good point, because actually, in fact, SamaSama has been doing lots of virtual activity. I believe that the audience mean actually for the physical activity, exchanging the view and having the food, together.
I think that's a great question, because one thing that we realized, we started the remote trainings and all of these sessions with our migrant community responders and leaders. And the one thing is, when we talk about a topic like this, really face-to-face is the best. And I believe that, we still want to keep safe at the end of the day. But we are already planning in advance on the day that we are able to first have a meal with everyone. I think that's the most important part. But then get a location where, we can host some of these workshops, which are going to be, near our vicinities. We can finally actually practice and role play some of the things that we've learned in the past, something that's very difficult to get when you're on a screen. That's one of them, and a lot of different meals that we have planned, yes. And a lot of people only biryani. And I'm looking for
there is a lots of audience here, actually, they all love biryani. Okay.
This sounds more like some food chat show. That it's getting to become a food chat show. Dr. Goh has talked about food about almost every time as well.
I'm not sure. By the way, Kari, do you know how to cook biryani?
No. Someone also owes me how to cook biryani, a lesson on that.
I'll send a YouTube link, actually. Maybe you can try.
Okay, now I'm quite nervous. I've seen how it's cooked. And there are quite a lot of high standards on biryani standards, yeah? Everyone...
We can collaborate and do a biryani cookout, yeah?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. To celebrate end of, when COVID is lifted, we can do that. All of us can.
That's the first plan.
Definitely. Definitely. I'll give the Bangladeshi special edition called Kachi Biryani or Fakhruddin Biryani. I'll send it to you. Maybe you should try.
Okay, and sweets and desserts.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'll be going back to again, Louis. Louis, if you can actually share some of the initiative that the government is going to start soon. That is recently you have actually spoken to the parliament. I believe one of the things that you have shared, I heard, I've seen your video, especially the facilities for the dome. Yeah, Louis.
Yeah, so the dorm facilities I shared earlier that by the end of this year, we have new quick-built dorms that we can house up to 60,000 workers, but really with improved standards. The other thing that I've been fighting for quite a bit is the electronic payment of salaries, which has become successful during this pandemic, that now migrant workers that are living in the dorms will have to receive their salaries electronically. And I think that will help significantly. So it isn't anymore of the hearsay that I got paid, I didn't get paid, they didn't pay me enough, or they didn't pay me on time. Once it's paid electronically, then there is sort of an audit trail. We will know whether you have got paid, whether you were paid on time, and whether you were paid the right amount. And I think that will be give our migrant friends a huge load off their shoulders that they don't need to worry about their salaries, which we have also assured them that they will be paid during this pandemic as well. I think previously I was fighting for a lot of the issue with the MCs and the light duties as well, making sure that the regulations are not being circumvented, where workers are being given light duty instead of giving MC. So we've also finally amended legislation for that to make sure now that if you are injured and if you are sick, you will get the appropriate MC or light duty. And regardless of whether it's an MC or light duty, the employer will have to report the accident now.
Thank you, Louis. I got a very special invitation. I think I wanted to share with all of you. Here, Rushi Haq. I wanted to invite all panelists to come to our house.
I knew it was about food.
By the way, that's Rushi Haq. That's my wife. So I invited all of you to come my house actually and join the biryani. There's so many people actually talking about the biryani and the food. Yes.
Tarifa is a great biryani chef as well. It shall be a cook-off. It's on.
Yes, lots of our friends also actually talking about this the pandemic, the how government has actually done the pretty well, and how they actually have been supported to all the migrant brother, providing the facility, providing the food, even high bandwidth of internet, and in fact even some of the agency that actually have provided SIM card, data card, and so on. সো দর্শক যেমনটি বলছিলাম আমাদের প্যানেলিস্টদের সাথে আসলে ওনারা ওনাদের এক্সপেরিয়েন্স গুলো শেয়ার করলেন। আমার একটা পয়েন্ট লুইস পয়েন্ট আমার খুব ভালো লাগছে যে সে হচ্ছে ওয়ান অফ দ্য পয়েন্ট নিয়ে সে হচ্ছে পার্লামেন্টে অনেক আগে থেকে ভয়েস রেজ করতেছিল, সেটা হচ্ছে ইলেকট্রনিক পেমেন্ট। আপনি জানেন যে হচ্ছে যে আমাদের অনেক মাইগ্রেন্ট ভাইয়া আছেন যাদেরকে পে করা হচ্ছে ক্যাশ ইন হ্যান্ড। সো ক্যাশে নর্মালি এই ধরনের পেমেন্ট দিলে অনেক সময় রেকর্ড থাকে না, কারণ ওটার কোনো রিসিভিং থাকে না কিংবা ওটার কোনো ট্রানজেকশন থাকে না। সো বাট এই ব্যাপারটা সে অনেক আগে থেকে রেজ করেছেন এবং রিসেন্টলি স্পেশালি এই প্যান্ডেমিকের সময় অনেকগুলো কোম্পানিকে কি বলবো যে এনশিওর করেছেন যে তারা ইলেকট্রনিকলি তাদের হচ্ছে এমপ্লয়কে স্যালারিটা পে করে। এটা যেমন হচ্ছে যে এটা অনলাইন স্মুথ এবং তার একটা ট্রানজেকশন রেকর্ড থাকে। পাশাপাশি ইন দ্য হিস্ট্রি মেনি অফ দ্য মাইগ্রেন্ট ব্রাদার্স অ্যাকচুয়ালি যে ফিডব্যাক দিয়েছে যে তাদের স্যালারিটা কি বলবো যে অ্যাকুরেট হয়নি কিংবা অন টাইমে হয়নি কিংবা তার মধ্যে হাইড অ্যান্ড সিক ছিল। সো এই অনলাইন ট্রানজেকশনের মাধ্যমে গভর্নমেন্ট কিন্তু হচ্ছে অডিট করতে পারে যে তারা অন টাইমে পে করেছে কিনা কিংবা তারা হচ্ছে অ্যাকুরেট স্যালারি দিচ্ছে কিনা। যে জিনিসটা আপনি যখন হচ্ছে কি বলবো যে আইপি কি বলে ওয়ার্ক পারমিট অ্যাপ্রুভাল ইন প্রিন্সিপাল লেটারটা পান, সেখানে আপনার ফ্যাসিলিটি প্লাস আপনার স্যালারি কি দেওয়া হবে সেটা কিন্তু ডিক্লেয়ার করা থাকে। তো গভর্নমেন্ট এনশিওর করতেছে যে এমপ্লয়ার যেটা দিয়ে আপনাকে কমিট করে নিয়ে আসছে সেই অ্যামাউন্টটা যেন আপনাকে পে করা হয়। সো এই জিনিসগুলো আমাদের লুইস পার্লামেন্টে রেজ করেছেন এবং পাশাপাশি কি বলবো যে আদার্স মিনিস্ট্রি গুলো ওনাকে সাপোর্ট করেছেন, যেটা অনেকগুলো পলিসি অলরেডি ইমপ্লিমেন্ট হয়ে গেছে এবং আরো অনেকগুলো হবে। যেমন ডম ফ্যাসিলিটি গুলো কথা বলতেছিলেন, ডম ফ্যাসিলিটি গুলো হচ্ছে নতুন ডম ফ্যাসিলিটি আসতেছে, 60,000 actually people can live, and in fact the new DOM actually is going to be completely different. আপনারা হয়তো দেখেছেন চ্যানেল নিউজ এশিয়া তারা ভিজুয়াল দিয়ে আর্টিকুলেট করে দিয়েছে যে একটা রুমে কতজন থাকবে, কতগুলো টয়লেট কতজন শেয়ার করবে। So it's going to be very amazing the facility that government is going to build. But again একটা জিনিস আপনাদেরকে আবার শেয়ার করব। So whatever the thing that government has done, and definitely they are doing it. If you do compare with other countries, how our other migrant brother are actually having this facility, definitely they are very very different than what Singapore is doing today. And definitely for that, we really appreciate for all the government and the leader they have been doing it. I would like to go back to Dr. Goh actually. Dr. Goh, recently actually I was been talking to some of your colleagues and volunteer in fact from Healthserve, because we have been doing lots of the fun activities from 24asia, and recently actually we have received quite significant feedback and update from them. So I was discussing one of the volunteer that what can I do together with Healthserve, and one of volunteer was sharing this. If you can teach me Bengali, I will teach you in Mandarin.
Great
So
idea.
let's call this, learn something new. Okay, learning the language. I love the idea. So basically, he will come join this virtual stage. Okay, he will teach. He will actually teach me in a few, in Mandarin, and I will teach Bengali. I think Kari should join.
Yeah, we had that about maybe 4 years ago. We had a group of NUS students run 2 weekend classes. They wanted to come and teach English to the Bengali, to the migrant workers. And I told them, why do you get the migrant workers to teach us Bengali, which they did. And it was a big hit among all the volunteers. So yeah, it's a great idea to learn each other's languages.
Yes, in fact, one of your volunteer from Malay, she also said that Nas, if you teach me Bengali, I'll teach you Malay. So let's have an event there, so that I teach you, Bengali, and and all our Malay, colleagues and friends, they will learn the Bengali from you, and I will teach the Malay to you, so that your friends who are enjoying this show, they can actually learn the Malay also.
Yeah, and this show can be, international. Yeah.
Thank you.
Japanese lessons. I will practice and share it with you guys. I need to rest it up anyway.
I have a question actually, one to Luis. Luis, I know that you've been working with lots of migrant brothers, okay, and even you have visited Bangladesh. Can you speak few words in Bengali?
Absolutely not. I'm terrible with language and cooking.
Or few words? Few words?
Not at all, to be honest.
Like, for example, I love you, or I love the Bangladesh, আমি তোমাকে ভালোবাসি, or আমি বাংলাদেশকে ভালোবাসি.
Don't get me in trouble. My wife is in the room. I don't want to be saying I love you.
Okay.
She might be listening.
Okay, we'll have a separate session on that maybe.
And now if she hears, I'm having a separate session on that.
I don't want to make another trouble actually. Yes, there are quite lots of audience have been watching it lively. It's 300 plus, and there's lots of more than 1,200 actually the comments have been receiving it. I'm really sorry that I can't really go through every one of you, but definitely all of them actually is appreciation note to Luis, Dr. Goh, and Kari, and definitely all your appreciation has sent to them. Thank you so much. So we are almost end of the session today, audience. So before we end, maybe we'll go one by one. First to Dr. Goh, if you can share, some of the notes to our audience. I wish I can continue this another 2 hours, but definitely we don't want to lock you here. Dr. Goh.
Well, one of the things I learned very early on when we started Healthserve is that, migrant brothers are really resilient, very strong. But, I realized something, that this is really true. In the last 2 or 3 months during the, the lockdown, so to speak, that really you have survived and you've come out even stronger, despite all the mental stress and, all the worries and anxiety. So it's something I want to salute all of you who have been there, and you'll come out stronger. I think, this COVID season will end someday, and, we look forward to it. But be strong, and if there's anything, we're in this together.
Thank you, Dr. Goh. So I'll be going to Kari. Kari, if you can actually share, a few words, for even 2 minutes to our audience for, closing speech. Kari.
Thank you very much, Naz. As Singapore reopens, I think that this presents a very exciting time for all of us. I know that it also presents some worries, but I would just like to let you guys know that I think we as Singapore and all of the NGOs organizations will continue to support our migrant communities. And there will be many more opportunities and platforms that will and have been created during the pandemic. And we hope that this will continue on, and to hopefully one day, the relationships that we've built over the last few months will grow and grow, and one day will become our new normal. To everyone out there, if you have an idea or you have a story to share or you believe in a certain cause, you can, reach out to whether it's SamaSama or 24 News Asia. I really would love to see and work together with you guys. So thank you, Nas, Louis, Dr. Goh, also for all your contributions to the migrant community. And what I would really like to see out of this is an inclusive and more resilient post-COVID.
Thank you, Kari. So there are many audience join. I think some of our 24 Asia member also joined. Rubel from our 24 Asia is sent comments. Sir, Mr. Louis, actually, great to see you on 24 Asia platform. Thank you, Louis, and thank you, Rubel, for joining us. In fact, just before I go back to the Louis, I wanted to share here that this 24 Asia actually is a voluntary platform. Okay, a voluntary platform. We build this platform, and we have 20 members who actually run this. Okay, you only see me, but those are behind me actually have been supporting. I must say their name. Mamun, Shojib, Tasrif, Rashid, Umar Farouk, Nasrin, many others actually, Momin, Rushi, and Asmaul Martina as well. And definitely Julhas Jabar, one of the celebrities from Bangladesh, is also helping us actually supporting this, playing advisory role, and many others. So I really wanted to thank all of you, and definitely I wanted to thank all those panelists as well. So I'll be going to Louis. Louis, if you can share actually a few words in 3 minutes to our audience as closing speech. Louis.
Well, I think many of you have said thank you to us this evening, but really it should be the other way around. For us to thank all of you for all the hard work, for helping to keep Singapore clean, for building this home, this place that we call our home. And we really know how difficult it is for you to be so far from your home and so far from your loved one, especially during this pandemic. I mean, I can't imagine being so far away from my home, knowing that my family is also going through this pandemic. And as you know, as Ines has said, I've been to Bangladesh not just to visit our migrant friends and their families there, but also to visit the refugees in Cox's Bazar. And I really have to tell you that I'm amazed with all that I saw in Bangladesh, all that I've experienced, and the things I've heard, I've seen, and how beautiful your country is. How when almost every other country closed their doors to the refugees, Bangladesh opened your borders to accept them, and really showed us what selflessness really means. And it's really a shining example of how a country can do so much to help others and give them a second chance in life. So really, on behalf of everyone, I wanted to thank you and thank your country, Bangladesh, for all that you do.
Thank you so much, actually, Louis. দর্শক যেমনটি বলছিলেন, অ্যাকচুয়ালি লুইস বাংলাদেশে গিয়েছিলেন, সে বাংলাদেশ দেখছেন, বাংলাদেশ আসলে দেখতে কান্ট্রি অনেক সুন্দর। স্পেশালি সে যে জিনিসটা শেয়ার করলো যে সে নিজে কক্সবাজার গেছিল রিফিউজি ক্যাম্পগুলো দেখতে, এবং আমাদের দেশের সরকার থ্যাঙ্কস টু আওয়ার প্রাইম মিনিস্টার অ্যাকচুয়ালি যে তাদের এরকম ক্রাইসিসের সময় আমাদের বর্ডার ওপেন করে দিচ্ছে, তাদেরকে আমাদের সাথে থাকতে এবং তাদেরকে থাকার ব্যবস্থা করে দিচ্ছে, তাদেরকে লোকাল ফ্যাসিলিটি করে দিচ্ছে যে আনটিল তাদের ক্রাইসিস পর্যন্ত তারা আমাদের সাথে থাকতে পারে অ্যাজ এ পার্ট অফ দ্য our family. So definitely লুইস আমাদের সরকারকে এবং আমাদেরকে গভর্নমেন্টের যতগুলো ম্যানেজমেন্ট এবং যারা এই ধরনের ক্রাইসিস এই মুহূর্তে সাপোর্ট দিচ্ছে বিভিন্ন এনজিও, তাদেরকে থ্যাংক ইউ দিয়েছে। ঠিক তেমনই ভাবে আমি অডিয়েন্সদের পক্ষ থেকে আমি বাংলাদেশের on behalf of Bangladesh government, on behalf of Bangladesh, all the family for Bangladeshi worker families, actually, I want to thanks to the Singapore government. I want to thanks to the Louis, I want to thanks to all the parliament member who are actually working so hard want to thanks to the Singapore Police Force, ICA, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Trade and Industry, and all those people who have been actively working so hard, all the volunteer and ambassador and supporting, during this crisis, especially supporting our migrant brothers. Thank you so much, actually, and thank you, for coming here today, sharing your experience. Audience, যেটা বলছিলাম, আমরা আবার আসবো আপনাদের সাথে পরবর্তী কোনো একটা অনুষ্ঠানে, আবার দেখা হবে। ততক্ষণ পর্যন্ত আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকেন, সুস্থ থাকেন, এই কামনা করি। সো এই বলে আমাদের আজকের অনুষ্ঠান এখানে শেষ করছি। ভালো থাকবেন। আল্লাহ হাফেজ।